Okay, traders, so once again, I've asked for questions on my Instagram account and I pick the ones that seem to show up more often than others. There are some questions that are quite niche and perhaps answering them on a Q&A would probably not be the best way of answering them, but I'd like to answer questions that people ask often, whether it's in my DMs, my YouTube comments, or even the question pages. So we're going to start with a good one. And this one is something that I talk about in my mentorship a lot and is talking about stop losses and take profits. So they asked, do you close at the session end? So let's say, put this into perspective with my strategy, I trade from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. so a 4-hour window, and I won't look to enter trades after that 12 p.m. So they asked, do you close at the session end, i.e. 12 p.m., or do you run to stop loss or take profit? And my entries are different to my exits. I don't want to enter a trade after 12, but I'll happily hold a trade after 12. With my rules and the way I've actually done my backtesting and developing the strategy, I go through the difference between closing trades due to invalidations. Perhaps that's a break of structure. Perhaps that is before a news event. And also I looked at closing at 12. So when the session ends, boom, close trade, and that's it. But more often than not, if the trade hasn't broken structure in the opposite direction and there is no news coming up that is high impact or that's going to affect the trade I'm actually in, then there is no reason for me to close the trade. It doesn't matter the time of day. The only time I will close the trade is when it gets to the evening time. The reason being, I don't want to have extra charges for holding overnight. I don't want to have to deal with the hour at night when the spreads do increase massively. Many people that are inexperienced, perhaps they hold overnight for the first time and then they got stopped out and they don't know why. They look on TradingView and nothing's happened, but then they go on their broker and realize that, oh, the spreads were absolutely massive. And if you're not prepared for that, then it can be a very easy way to lose money that you shouldn't have actually lost. So I will always hold to stop loss or take profit unless there is a valid reason for me to close the trade. And it's just running over to 12. That doesn't really give me a valid reason. And the main point behind this is that there's no reason for a trade to close before that because I'm only giving myself a few candles. If you think about it, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., each hour has 4 15-minute candles. So I'm only giving myself 16 candles to enter the trade. So a trade to become valid, a retest to get in my entry, and then hit a profit if I'm closing before 12. And most often that is not the case. So I have to hold after 12 p.m. anyway. And the next question, how long until your profits were larger than your losses? I'm guessing you mean how much I've lost overall versus how much I made overall. And how long after many months of losing did it take me to have my profits be bigger than my losses? And the thing that many beginners don't understand is when you are learning to trade, when you have your first Forex account or your first few accounts, your first few prop firms, you're using smaller accounts. So in the hundreds of dollars, in the thousands of dollars, and the losses aren't going to be massive. $10, $20, $100. And that's for the first few months, the first few years for some people. But then you go to, let's say, a year down the line, 2 years down the line, and you're trading with a 100K account. You can wipe out 6 months, 12 months of losses in one trade. Because once you've scaled, it means that the difference between your first account and an account 2 years, 3 years down the line is massive. Your spread on an average trade will be your average loss 2 years ago. Obviously, I don't know how long it took, like weeks, days, months, but usually the losses at the start are very small. The accounts you're trading, maybe purchasing 10K prop firm accounts, 25K prop firm accounts, they are not very expensive in the slightest. So it is good to learn. And it also means when you are ready for a 100K, 200K, perhaps even 400K account, you are very easily wiping out any losses you had at the start of your journey. And that is the main benefit towards starting small, not rushing into the deep end and going, oh, I need to trade large amounts of capital now. But if you just focus on the development stage of your trading, developing a strategy, developing yourself as a trader too, then later down the line, when you do decide to scale, it is not premature and you are likely to wipe out losses very quickly. So the next question, struggling going from mentorship to mentorship, can you help me? This one I see a lot of people do. It's mainly people searching for the holy grail. They'll purchase a course from someone that perhaps they've been watching on YouTube or following on Instagram, and they see them being successful in the markets and they want to replicate these results. But what they don't realize is that you can't just buy a course and then within 2 weeks become profitable. That's just not how it works. You have to put in the work of actually understanding what they're teaching. You then have to apply it to your own trading, because you will perhaps trade different hours to the person you were learning from. You might even want to trade different pairs, and you might see things differently. Someone might see something one way and you see it another way, and perhaps you have to adapt it to your trading. And then you have to test it. Perhaps this is live testing, trading a small account, forward testing, different ways of testing. And then you can evaluate whether this strategy is one for you to use or not. You can't just jump from one old buying course week in, not for me, buying another one and expecting a different result each time. It's just not going to happen. My best advice is to pick one mentorship, one person to follow, one course, one way of trading, and just stick to that. Develop it and make it profitable. I feel like the majority of strategies out there can be profitable for anyone as long as they are trading them effectively and backed by data. If there's no data to back up claims of a profitable strategy, then you can't make money. So if you go live in the markets after 2 weeks of learning a strategy, you have no data. You might have a few months of backtested history, but that is nothing. That doesn't prove anything. Any strategy can be profitable for 2 or 3 months, but can it be profitable for 3 years, 5 years? Can it be profitable through elections, pandemics, government shutdowns? All of these different scenarios that can actually happen in the markets, you need to be able to trade through those. So you need to build a strategy that can handle itself during drawdown, during difference in market conditions, perhaps high volatility, and then large periods of consolidation. You need to be able to trade through these and know how your strategy actually acts. And then you can say whether the mentorship is worth it or not. Next question, what prop firms do I recommend? This one, again, it's all based on personal experiences. I see other people have good experiences with a prop firm, and then I have a bad experience with the prop firm. But overall, I've never had a payout rejected from any prop firm. And all the videos I make trading with prop firms, I always give the pros and cons. I always say that if you are looking to pick a prop firm, just look at the most reputable firms in the industry. The key things I look out for: how long has that firm been around? You don't want a firm that's been around 3 months, because they could have liquidity issues 6 months down the line. You just have no clue whether that firm can still manage a large influx of good traders. You also have to think about price. Some people will go for cheap firms just because they're saving $100 on each challenge, but you also have to consider the fact that you might be spending $100, $200 more for a single challenge for some firms, but the likelihood of you being paid out is much higher. So the cost, in my opinion, in most cases with prop firms is worth it. So you're paying more, but you have more flexible rules, you have an easier challenge to pass, but you also have the backup of that firm is well known in the industry to pay out. They have a good reputation that you might not get with a cheap firm. If you are spending money, $200 on a 100K challenge, or $150, some of them even offer now, you aren't in the same position as someone who's spending $500, because they're charging $500 for a reason. The one that's charging $150 just wants quick sales, and they have to make double from failed challenges to make the same amount of money as the one charging $500, or over double. So the profit margins, you obviously, simple maths, is not as large. So the likelihood of you being paid out is slim. Then you also have to consider trading conditions and the rules. So whether this is stop loss rules, drawdown rules, new trading, max lot size, EA rules, perhaps trade copier rules, all these different things you have to consider. And you just need to pick one that fits your trading style. You might be a swing trader and you need to hold over the weekend and hold through news. Are you able to do this? Again, just make a list of all the things that you need in a prop firm, and then go through and check and see if the prop firm you're looking to choose has all of those features. If it does, perfect, purchase it and go about your normal trading. And if it doesn't, just don't buy it and just pick another one. Or perhaps you sacrifice on one or two of the aspects. Could be a stop loss rule, it could be news trading. And again, you're not going to find everything perfect. Obviously you can, but it's not very likely. And just kind of see what's working for you and pick a firm that you think matches your style. I'm going to round up now with the last question. What is my go-to pair and time frame? Go-to pair, pound, US dollar, GBP, USD. I've been trading now for the past few years. It's been very, very successful for me. I've had my biggest days in the markets trading with the pound, and it's just moves perfectly, moves in London session. I get all my best moves, only have to trade a 4-hour window. It's just amazing. And all of these trades are taken on a 15-minute time frame. I used to trade gold, used to trade AUD, USD, GBP, AUD, hour time frame, 30-minute time frame, 4-hour time frame, but I've since slimmed it down, made it super simple. One time frame, one pair, one session, and one setup. Makes it simple, no mistakes, no human error, and it just means that you're able to execute the same trades day in, day out. And if you have any further questions, be sure to leave them in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.